Hello, and welcome to Shameless Plugs. This is our new podcast where I am J.A. George, and I am joined by my counterpart.
Samantha the writer.
And we are both aspiring writers, and we are going to be talking on this show about reading and writing and pop culture entertainment, and we're going to plug our own work.
We are definitely going to plug our own work. That's why we're here.
That's hence the name, Shameless Plugs. Speaking of who I am J.A. George. I am a giant dork. I am a recovering comic geek. I am an overgrown 12-year-old. You will hear me talk a lot about science fiction and comic books and superhero movies and movies in general because I'm also a movie junkie and I will literally debate you about any movie from Snow Dogs to Citizen Kane. So just be prepared that I have a lot of opinions about movies and you might be hearing some of those later on in this podcast. And I am with my partner, Samantha the writer. So Samantha, why don't you tell everyone about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Samantha the writer. As the name implies, my parents were oracles because they knew what was coming. I'm drinking tea. I am wearing a t-shirt. I know very little about movies. And
That's okay.
Yeah, that's why I rely on J.A. over there. My movie collection is like 10.
My movie collection when I was 10 was about 40. So,
But here we are at Shameless Plugs. And I think we're ready to do our first plug.
We are ready to do our first
Ready
plug.
to do our first plug. What that means is, as was previously said, we are very opinionated and we decided that we wanted to give shout outs or plugs to people or things or entities. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to plug stuff in the rating sense.
Yes. I am not going to plug things in any other sense.
So we love t-shirts. I'm wearing a t-shirt.
I, in fact, am wearing a t-shirt as well.
My t-shirt is quite nerdy. It is a Gundam t-shirt with the Celestial Being logo. Shout out to my Gundam homies.
I am wearing a very dorky t-shirt as well. I mentioned at the beginning that I am a recovering comic geek, so I'm wearing an X-Men t-shirt right now. It's an X-Men pop t-shirt, and I think that brings us to our first plug.
It does. Again, our first plug. John, where do you get your t-shirts?
I got my t-shirt at tpublic.com.
tpublic.com.
tpublic.com. That's TEEPUBLIC.
.com.
Exactly. tpublic.com is actually a really cool website. It's a lot of independent artists. These are people who just are fans of different things. You can find t-shirts on just about any fan community that you can think of. There are some mashups. There are some very talented artists, some very clever people creating t-shirts for the site, independent artists. So go out there and support artists. They frequently have sales, so you can find some great deals on t-shirts there as well. I've bought a lot of t-shirts, and at the end of the podcast, we might even give you some information on where you could visit us.
Yeah.
And find a link to the shirt that I'm wearing today.
Oh.
Might even be on the site as part of our first ever plug. Yep.
That's so exciting. So if you had to rank tpublic.com on our plug scale, where would you put it?
I would give it the highest rating that we have. It would be a hair plug.
Hair plug.
Hair
You
plug.
heard it here. Hair plug for tpublic.com.
tpublic.com gets a hair plug.
Gets a hair plug. Hair plug is in fact the highest rating on our scale.
So our rating scale here on Shameless Plugs is kind of an interesting one. At the top of the list, you've got hair plugs. Why hair plugs? Well, they're at the top. They're at the top of your head, and they make people feel better. Mostly men. You know, gives people confidence. Some women. Gives people confidence. You know, what's not to like about a hair plug? It makes people feel better about themselves.
It does, but we're also not saying that you have to have hair plugs to feel good about yourself.
No. If you're bald and proud, own it.
Yeah, be bald and proud.
Yeah.
But because, hair plugs, top of the list.
Yep.
Top of the list. That's followed by the spark plug. Mainly because a little spark never hurt anyone.
It's true.
They're great. They're, get things going. They're also a little dangerous. I mean, lightning
Yeah.
not so good.
Yeah, I mean, that's a kind of a spark that could hurt someone,
Yes.
but, I don't think you're going to get struck by lightning from a spark plug.
This is
so,
true, yeah.
you know.
So, yay, spark plug.
Yeah.
That is followed by the bathtub plug. We like this to be quaint but grimy. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cute. It's got a little string on it.
Yes.
But
It could also be a little nasty.
it can be nasty.
If you get some rust on it, no, yuck.
Yucky.
Speaking of things that are yucky, the next item on our scale, the condiment plug. It's like that skin that you get at the top of the mustard, like the Elmer's glue kind of thing that you gotta pluck off before you can add it to your sandwich. It's just gross.
It's just gross.
It's G-gross. It's gross.
Just gross.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the bottom of our scale. It's the the gulp.
Yeah.
It's the gulp. Mm-hmm. It's plug backwards,
Yes.
but we're gonna go with the gulp
Yeah.
for the bottom of our scale.
Yeah.
A little bit of a cat vomit noise.
Yeah. Not pleasant.
Not pleasant at all.
No.
So that's our scale. Mm-hmm. So now as we start to plug things,
You'll know.
plug along with us.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Give them your own ratings.
Yeah,
Let us
please.
know what you think.
Yeah.
Send them to us.
Check out the website for our rating scale. Mm-hmm. Images and such.
Yeah, we don't expect you to remember this scale.
No. But if you do, bonus points.
Yeah.
You are a true outlet.
Yeah.
So that's our scale. If you would like us to plug something of yours, product, art, t-shirt, whatever, we'd be more than happy to do it. But it's important to note,
We're gonna be honest.
we're going to be very honest.
We're gonna rate it what we actually think it deserves. Just because you give us something free doesn't mean you're getting a hair plug. You might get a gulp.
You might get a gulp. Hopefully there are not that many gulps in this world. But there are a few.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
might get one.
And, send us free stuff.
Send us free stuff. We like free stuff.
We may feature you on the show.
We may. On our website.
Yes.
On our Facebook page. On Twitter. We should give you all of that information.
And we will.
We will.
But at the end.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
So, one of the things that we like to do is talk about books. We're both avid readers.
Yes.
Been reading for a long time.
Yes.
All of the years.
Mm-hmm.
So we see all these book lists online, and we found one that we thought was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was called The Top 30 Books Everyone Should Read Once. We'd like to go through that now.
Yeah, because even though we're two pretty well-read people, there's a lot of books on this list that neither of us have read.
This is true. There's also an impressive amount of reading that has occurred, though. So,
Yes.
yeah, so we're going to run that list for you. First one, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Read it.
Read it. 1984.
Read it.
Read it. Harry Potter.
Read it.
I actually read the first one.
Okay, so that counts.
So that
because
counts.
This was specifically the Philosopher's or
Yes.
Sorcerer's Stone, depending on what part of the world you live in.
Lord of the Rings, just the first one.
Just the first one for me as well.
Read it.
Couldn't get through the Two Towers. Couldn't do it.
I did it.
I couldn't do it.
I did it.
This is a rare case where I like the movie more than the book. That almost never
Whoa.
happens.
Whoa.
Almost never happens.
Whoa. Gatsby. Great Gatsby.
Never read it.
Read it.
And what did you think of The Great Gatsby?
Not a fan.
Okay.
Not a fan of The Great Gatsby. It's not a gulp, but it's a condiment plug for me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just not my
Not good.
not my cup of tea.
Okay. As she takes a sip of tea.
Pride and Prejudice.
This is one of those that I'm going back and forth because I'm not sure whether I read it or not. If I did, it's been so long, but I'm going to go with no because I can't honestly remember.
I've not read it either.
Okay.
Diary of Anne Frank.
Read it.
Did not read it. Book Thief.
Did not read it.
Read it. It's very good.
Okay.
The Hobbit.
Never read it.
I did read that one.
At some point on this podcast, you are going to get my rant about why I cannot get into fantasy things, but we'll save that for a future podcast.
That is more time than we have
Yes.
right now.
Yes. I'm a sci-fi geek, not a fantasy geek, just so everybody knows.
I enjoy both.
Yeah.
Little Women.
Did not read it. This is another one that I'm not sure about, but I think I did not read it.
I didn't read this one. Fahrenheit 451.
Definitely read it.
Yes.
Loved it.
Yes.
Loved it.
Yeah? Do you want to plug it?
It's at least a spark plug,
Okay.
maybe a hair.
Oh, wow.
I think I'm leaning toward hair.
Really?
Yeah, I love
All
that
right.
book. It's
All right.
kind of brilliant.
All right. Jane Eyre.
Another one, I think I didn't read it.
I never read that one. Animal Farm.
Definitely read it.
Yeah.
Loved that one as well.
Yeah, that was good. Gone with the Wind.
Didn't read it.
No, it's long.
And,
It's-
it's one of those that I just never had much interest in.
A little intimidating to see.
Yeah,
it. Like,
I can see
I
that.
read long books, but it's like,
Yeah.
Gone with the Wind. We did that one. Catcher
Yes.
in the Rye.
Read it.
Me too. Charlotte's Web.
Read it.
I enjoyed that one.
Charlotte's Web was great.
Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Read it.
Read it. Grapes of Wrath.
Did not read.
Read it. I like Steinbeck, but I am forgetting the title of the one that I actually enjoy more.
East of Eden?
East of Eden!
Yes.
East of Eden is amazing. East of Eden is in my top 5 books that I've ever read.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is definitely a hair plug.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm bummed that there's a certain book not on this list that I consider my all-time favorite, and it's not on there. But
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you want to break in?
Clockwork Orange.
Oh, yeah.
Clockwork
it's not
Orange
on
is just
here.
an amazingly brilliant novel,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
there are some novels on this list that Clockwork Orange should take its spot.
Yeah. Well, it is only the top 30 books that you should read in your life once.
And Clockwork Orange should be on the list. I'm not sure what your point is there, but
I'm just saying, what if it's like 31?
their list has it 30 spots too low. Just saying.
Oh, okay, my bad. Lord of the Flies.
Read it.
Did not read that one. Kite Runner.
Did not read.
Read it. Mice and Men.
This is another one I'm not positive about, but I'm pretty sure I read that one.
I read that one. Tale of Two Cities.
Did not read.
Did not read. Is this the first one that neither of us have read?
I
No,
think-
or Jane Eyre.
Jane Eyre.
Yeah, neither of us read
Yeah.
that one either. Romeo and Juliet.
Read it.
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Oh, definitely read it.
Yeah,
Love that
I've read
series.
both
Love the whole
as well.
series. Yeah.
Wuthering Heights.
I think that's a no.
No for me. Man, we're not doing so
We're
well.
not doing
on
so
that,
well.
on that side of
We
things.
probably should have calculated percentages here because I'm also kind of a number geek, so I actually genuinely love playing with Microsoft Excel and spreadsheets, so, Excel would get a hair plug for me, I'm just saying.
If I never saw another Excel spreadsheet. The Color Purple.
I read part of that, but I never finished it, and I didn't stop because I disliked it. I don't remember why I stopped, but it's just one I never went back to. I actually thought what I read was quite good, I just never finished it for some reason.
I have read that one. So this list had Alice in Wonderland, which we're both a little confused about because
Yeah.
it's
Through the Looking Glass. It's not-
which I've read.
So have I.
Flies a raven like a writing
Yeah.
desk. Frankenstein.
Read it.
No, I read Dracula.
Okay.
Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
Frankenstein's quite good. I would
Oh, is
recommend
it
reading
really?
it. Yeah.
Okay. Huck Finn.
Read it.
Read it. Slaughterhouse 5.
Definitely read it.
Definitely read it.
Yes.
And that's our 30. Those are the 30 books.
That's our 30.
Those are the 30 books, according to Lifehack, that everyone should read once.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, though, they missed one.
Well, overall, it's a pretty good list. However, it's at best a bathtub plug for me. Their list is because it didn't have a Clockwork Orange on it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I feel like Hemingway got a little left out. Mm-hmm. I like him.
I've never been a Hemingway fan, so
I enjoy him.
that didn't bother me so much.
Yeah.
But
I think I'm with you. I think that list is a bathtub plug for me. There's nothing
Yeah.
on there that was really surprising.
yeah,
It kind of feels like all the other lists out there.
yes,
And it's all the stuff that is on all the summer reading shelves.
pretty much. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. There's some great stuff on there. There's some stuff I'd read again on there.
Yes,
but
agreed.
The list as a whole, meh.
And there were some hair plugs on there for me.
Oh, yeah.
There were some hair plugs.
Agreed. All right. So there's another type of list.
Yes.
It's called JA's lists.
You're about to find out a little bit more about me.
Indeed.
I love making lists. I
Yep.
make them with my friends. I make them for myself. I just enjoy ranking things.
He makes them in Excel.
I do make them in Excel, as a matter of fact. I have at home right now in Excel, because I do love movies and I am a movie junkie, I have an Excel spreadsheet that is my top 100 movies of all time. Yes, top 100. And it is very definitely a living document. I update it when I see new movies that rank, and things drop off the list. Things move up as my appreciation of them changes. There is a very perplexed expression on Samantha the writer's face right now.
I just, I don't think I've seen 100 movies.
Oh, I've seen many more than 100 movies. At some point, and this is going to be a much more difficult list, I'm going to make a top 100 songs of all time, because
Oh.
I'm kind of a music junkie too.
Oh, dear.
Less so than movies, but
Oh dear.
anyway,
We'll let you know how that goes.
yeah, oh, I'm sure that will be fodder for a future podcast. But anyway,
I'm sure I'll only know 2 of the songs on the list.
that's not true.
You don't
My
think so?
music tastes are very broad because of the way I grew up,
Yeah.
because of all the music I was exposed to as a kid. I'm gonna give this kind of briefly, but my family, there was a wide range of ages. My parents, I was the only kid that they had together, but they both had kids from previous relationships. So I grew up with 8 half siblings, 3 of whom actually lived with me. The other 5 did not. But because my dad was 14 years older than my mom, he had pretty different music tastes than she did, and the 3 older siblings that I grew up with had very different music tastes. So growing up, I was exposed to Sinatra and Bobby Darin and Motown and early 1980s rap like Run DMC and Kool Moe Dee and Cyndi Lauper and Madonna, and then Quiet Riot and Billy Idol, and then I added skater punk into that mix. So I still listen to all of that stuff. So my tastes are pretty broad.
Country? Is there country in there?
There's very little country, but there's a few. Like I kind of like some Dwight Yoakam and
That's what I grew up on.
Charlie
That's
Daniels
where,
band. Some of that's okay,
that's
but
where my music taste lies. It's that stuff in the early '80s.
yeah.
I wasn't around
You weren't
for that.
born yet
I
for
wasn't,
that.
I wasn't
so
around for that. So
I was.
Yep.
So
Yep.
anyway, so
Moving on.
the point in bringing all this up is I love lists and I love movies and I love ranking things. So
Here we go. Are you ready?
Top
for
5.
It? Are you ready for it?
top 5 all-time favorite movies. You're about to hear them, and you can feel free to disagree with this list, and I'm sure some of you will with some of these choices, but I am not one of those people who believes that there's such a thing. There is such a thing as a wrong opinion. I'm sorry. If you can have incorrect opinions, and if you disagree with this list, I don't expect everyone to completely agree, but there are certain choices on the list that you are probably going to pick a different movie in the series that they're from, and if you do, then your opinion is wrong. I'm sorry. It is wrong.
Gauntlet thrown.
This may not be endearing me to our listeners, but
Gauntlet thrown.
here's the thing. I love Kids in the Hall. And there was a quote from Mark McKinney, one of the members of Kids in the Hall, that I have kind of taken as a life philosophy because I think it's a brilliant way to look at the world. And the quote was, this was when they were doing their reunion tour after the show had ended, and they were asked, you guys always had kind of a quirky sense of humor. You did some offbeat things that weren't really appropriate for mainstream tastes. And Mark's response was absolutely brilliant. It stuck with me all these years. And his response was, we always basically did comedy for ourselves, the things that we thought would be funny, because, and this is the quote, not everyone gets it, but the right ones do. And I've
Nice.
always loved that. So,
Nice.
I've always loved the idea that you surround yourself with people who get it. You don't worry about the people who don't get you. You always stay true to yourself. So,
And I think that is what this podcast is about
Exactly.
to some extent. So,
Yes.
if you're the right one,
yes, then please join us and listen. We don't expect you to agree with everything we
No.
have to say.
No.
I don't expect you to. You're allowed to disagree. And a healthy debate is kind of fun.
it is fun, yeah, as long as it's healthy and productive.
Exactly. But if you're one of the right ones, you're going to be open-minded enough to
Yep.
listen and have that debate without taking it personally.
All right, so let's debate some movies that I've never heard of.
Yes, top 5 list. All right, number 5 is probably the most obscure pick in my top 5, and it is from the 90s. It is a poker movie starring Matt Damon and Edward Norton and John Malkovich. It is absolutely brilliant. It is Rounders.
Rounders, number 5.
Number 5.
I got an explanation of this movie before we started recording, and it does sound amazing. In my very limited desire to sit for multiple hours and stare at a television, I may sneak this one in.
It is very much worth watching if you have never heard of it. I will warn you, there's some strong adult language in it, but it is the dialogue is absolutely phenomenal. The characterization is great. I love this movie. It's an absolutely brilliant movie. And one of the writers actually does the show Billions on Showtime right now. So
Oh, really?
yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So and the dialogue, the great ear for dialogue carries through on there. So very much worth checking out. Rounders. We got a tie for 3 and 4 because even though I am very opinionated, I'm also kind of indecisive sometimes. So I really couldn't.
So really,
rate.
this list is 1, 3, and 5.
Yeah, because 1 and 2 are also tied. So
Just making sure I understood.
yeah, so tied for 3 and 4. We'll cover one of them first. 7. David Fincher, absolutely amazing director. This is the movie where I started to really like Brad Pitt as an actor. It is, in my opinion, this goes back to the writer in me, the most efficient script I've ever seen to a movie. Every single moment plays into the finale, which is just amazingly well done. I adore this movie. And of course, the ending is amazing.
So far, I have not seen either of these.
7 is very, very, very much worth checking out.
Yes. I'm going to see every movie that you have on your list. Well, on your top 5.
Oh, my top 5.
Not on the 100.
I don't
no.
expect you to watch. You've
No.
seen some of the ones on my top 100, though, because
Oh, yeah.
Pacific Rim's on it.
Oh, I love Pacific Rim.
That's an absolutely brilliant movie.
So, just in case you didn't know, the second one comes out next year.
Yes.
Is it February?
February, I believe, yes.
February of 2018.
We both love giant robots. If you didn't pick up on that from Samantha's Gundam shirt, now it's out there for you.
you.
And mechs. They're both mechs.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Mhm, yeah.
The other movie tied for number 3. Here comes the comic geek. Batman Begins. This may be a controversial one, because I know many of you are going to say that The Dark Knight was a better movie. You are wrong. I'm sorry, The Dark Knight is not a better movie.
Plain and simple.
Yes. Batman Begins, the script is so much tighter, the ending is amazing, the character build-up is amazing. It is one of... Actually, let's just put it out there. It's the second best superhero movie ever made, in my opinion.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Second best superhero
Second
movie.
best, which means there's one more superhero movie coming on my list.
I believe that's what that implies.
I believe it does. But anyway, Batman Begins is amazing. I'm not trying to pick a fight, but I don't get why anyone would put The Dark Knight ahead of Batman Begins. Yes, Heath Ledger was amazing. His portrayal of the Joker was absolutely fantastic. But I honestly think everything else about Batman Begins was better than what they did with the exception of what they did with the Joker. Everything else about Batman Begins, for me, was better than what they did in The Dark Knight.
I've never seen Batman Begins.
It's very much worth watching.
I've seen The Dark Knight, though.
You should watch Batman Begins because it's the superior film. And if you enjoyed The Dark Knight, then take everything and make it better, and that's what you have with Batman Begins.
Oh, okay.
So
I've technically seen it, then.
No. No, you have not. You've seen an inferior version of it.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Oh. Okay, top 2.
Top 2.
One of them I'm not even going to go into any conversation about, so I'm going to cover that one first. Empire Strikes Back. It is positively brilliant. It is just amazing. Everything about it. There are no flaws in this movie. None. Not a single flaw in this movie, so I don't really need to say anything else.
I'm going to say something.
Go ahead.
I thought it was boring.
I think this is the last episode of our podcast now.
No, like, okay, I appreciate everything that Strikes Back did, but I just, like, I get, like, halfway into it and I'm like, ugh.
I think you're about to get more hate mail than I will for saying that Batman Begins is better than The Dark Knight.
I love Star Wars.
I'm aware.
Been a
Yes.
Star Wars geek for a very long time. It's just, and every time I say that, usually people just stare at me like open mouth, like, what is wrong with you? I just,
Who are these people?
no, when I say that Empire Strikes Back is not the
Oh,
best.
okay. I thought you were going to say that because you were a Star
No,
Wars.
no, when I say Empire Strikes Back is not the best, I usually get a lot of, like, open mouth, like, oh, heathen. I just, for me, I have trouble keeping myself into it. I don't know, it's just...
Really?
Yeah, I've always had issues with it.
So, I have to ask this question.
Okay.
What is your favorite Star Wars film, then?
See, I go back and forth, but I think A New Hope is great. I love the way that it sets everything up, and I think the end sequence is phenomenal. When they're attacking the Death Star, I think that's great. And then I also really enjoy
Return of the Jedi?
Return of the Jedi, thank you. But I enjoyed it more before they changed the end.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I don't know. I kind of waffle back and forth on those two. I think for me it's just the action, and I think I like the characters and the way they're portrayed in those ones better.
Huh.
For me, that's what it is.
I adore A New Hope. I have a love-hate thing going with Return of the Jedi.
Really?
I absolutely adore the first part in Jabba's palace.
Yes.
I adore everything with Luke and the Emperor and Vader. Those parts are amazing.
Yeah.
Everything on Endor, outside of the speeder bike chase sequence, I hate everything on Endor. The Endor sequences just irritate me so. And I will say this. Return of the Jedi, I was 6 years old when it came out. Maybe 5. I was about to turn 6. But I hated Ewoks even then.
Really?
I hated Ewoks as a kid because as a 5 or 6 year old kid, I thought it was incredibly dumb that mangy teddy bears were beating stormtroopers. I hated it even then. I told all my older siblings, I told my mom and dad how disappointed I was that teddy bears were beating stormtroopers. It just made no sense to me.
I can get that.
So-
I understand, yeah. I don't know, so I think if I had to pick my favorite one, it would probably be A New Hope.
Okay. I mean, that's obviously a respectable choice. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
It's in my top 20 for
Yeah.
sure. Maybe top 10.
Yeah. So, anyway,
But, okay.
I'm gonna buck your list a little bit.
We had a much longer conversation about Empire than
We
I
did,
expected
yeah.
there.
Yeah, he said he was just gonna say it, but I had opinions, so I shared them.
And that's what this is about.
Yeah.
We're opinionated people.
We are. Alright.
And
Alright.
this one is going to be more conversation.
Here we go.
Maybe not more than Empire now, but more
I don't
conversation.
think I have an opinion on this one.
You probably don't. And I think you kind of, maybe you wouldn't put it as high on the list as me, but you kind of agree on this one.
Yeah.
The original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
It is a fantastic movie, and this is another one where I'm probably going to anger some of our listeners, but if you think that Spider-Man 2 was a better movie, you are wrong. Spider-Man 2, throughout all of the characterization that they built in the first one, the action sequences in Spider-Man 2 were fantastic, but honestly, I fully and firmly believe that everything they did in the first one was better. As Spider-Man is my absolute all-time favorite fictional character, period. I adore Spider-Man. I have Spider-Man tattoos. I have Spider-Man t-shirts. I have Spider-Man everything. I adore Spider-Man. So, greatest fictional character ever made, in my opinion, and this movie did him justice. Even with organic web shooters. As much as I would have preferred the mechanical web shooters, that didn't bother me because this is cinematic perfection to me. They, Sam Raimi and I am drawing a complete blank on the screenwriter's name right now. David Koepp. They nailed the character. They nailed everything I love about the character. I grew up reading the 80s Spider-Man, and then I went back and read some of the 60s and 70s stuff. And they nailed everything that was great about the character from the 60s through the 80s before the dark ages that we will refer to as 90s Spider-Man, where you got ridiculous things like the Clone Saga and the spy parents, and I can't deal with that stuff. That Other than Mark Bagley's artwork in the 90s, I didn't really love 90s Spider-Man. And for those of you who are not comic geeks, I'm losing you right now, so I'm going to stop talking and just say that Spider-Man, the original Tobey Maguire, was brilliant. Tobey is still the best Spider-Man. I did not care for any of the sequels. Homecoming is
Yeah, I agree. I think Toby is the best Spider-Man. I think he was... I did not read the comic books, but whenever I thought of Spider-Man, that's how I thought of him, the way that he was played by Tobey Maguire. So
Yes.
I agree with that.
All right.
So I did not put together a list of my top 5 movies, but I'm thinking now that I should have, just because our lists would be so completely different.
I think that's fodder for a future podcast.
I think it is. So I think that will probably happen on the next one, and then J.A. George can judge my picks because they're not going to be anywhere near his, and I don't know if any of them would even make it into your top 100.
Well, we'll see.
Because
We'll find out
they're
next
a little
time.
offbeat, so...
We'll find out next time.
We will. I have a question for you.
Oh?
Oh.
Go on, please.
So do you think you're going to listen to Shameless Plugs?
As a matter of fact, I think I will.
Really?
I think it really appeals to me.
Yeah. That's
because I'm
awesome.
one of the right ones.
Gotta be careful with that.
I did not make that connection.
Yeah.
So if you've been listening, I'm one of the right ones in the context of what we talked about earlier, not in any other context. Anyway.
As in the quote.
Yes, as in the quote. Not everyone gets it, but the right ones do.
Those right ones.
Those right ones. I am not an alt-right one.
No.
I'm pretty far away from that. In fact, the alt-right ones wouldn't like my kind very much. So... And if
anyway.
Yeah, you could find out more about that later.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, another podcast. So, where can we find your work?
You can find my work on jageorgewriting.com.
jageorgewriting.com.
And I have a question for you.
Yeah?
Where can we find your work?
You can find my work at samanthethewriter.com.
Ooh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Our web addresses are kind of obvious.
Yeah.
And tied to who we are.
Yes.
So go there.
Yeah. That's jageorgewriting.com.
And samanthethewriter.com.
Yes.
Where can we find out more about Shameless Plugs?
Well, you could visit us at shamelesspluгspodcast.com.
Again, rather obvious. You can also follow us on Facebook at Shameless Plugs Podcast.
Where can they find us on Twitter?
You can find us on Twitter at Plugs Podcast.
Yes. Thanks, Twitter, for having a 15-character limit and not letting us do what we wanted to do.
Yep.
I love Twitter. I hate that I couldn't get my name.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, everywhere else we're Shameless Plugs Podcast.
yeah.
Everywhere else. Even our email.
Yeah.
shamelesspluгspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, exactly.
Except on Twitter.
Except on Twitter.
Just Plugs Podcast.
Yeah.
People are going to start looking at that and being like, oh, I need information on spark plugs.
Yeah.
And we're going to be like,
Not us.
we can't help you. So check us out. Subscribe.
Yes, absolutely subscribe.
Subscribe.
Yes.
Download. Tell your friends.
Yes. Speaking of shamelessplugspodcast.com, what kind of things could they find there?
Oh, wow. So you will see pictures of our favorite t-shirts.
Mm-hmm. Links to
Links to.
things that we have plugged on the show.
You can link to our websites from there. So if you can't remember who we are, which... You can just go to shamelessplugspodcast.com and find us.
You might find our rating scale there as well.
Yeah, you may. You may. If you have a comment, you can comment on stuff. If you're like, oh my gosh, your list is backwards.
Yeah,
you
feel free to tell us that.
Yeah,
I
you
am
can tell
always
us
up for
that.
the debate if you're one of those people who's for an open-minded, healthy discussion.
Want us to plug something? Send it to us.
Yep.
Want to give us free stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Email us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think
that
that's it.
covers it. So, first episode of Shameless Plugs.
Yep. I think it was a resounding success.
I agree.
I think it gets a hair plug.
I think it gets a hair plug.
Yeah.
I think it does. I think we should rate all of our shows at the end.
I think we should. If you're one of our outlets,
Yeah.
our fan base, if you're one of our fans, you are an
Yeah.
outlet.
Yeah, you are.
If you're an outlet, you automatically get a hair plug.
Oh, absolutely get a hair plug. Yep. Oh, the other thing they can find on our website is a link to our t-shirts, right?
Yes.
Our Shameless Plugs t-shirts.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're an artist and you're interested in mocking something up for us, we'd love to see it.
Yeah, we're very happy to work with any artists out there who are also our fans. We're very happy to work with you, and thank you for your support.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everyone who listened, thank you for your support.
Thank you. Oh, is there another plug that we need to give?
Is there?
I think there might be.
Well, go for it, please.
I think we need to plug our graphic designer.
That's absolutely correct.
Yes. We have a fabulous graphic designer who has helped us come up with logos and all kinds of stuff. Nick Olson.
Yes.
Yes. Nick is great.
Nick is absolutely great.
Great artist.
Yes.
And
a great guy.
Yeah, and a great guy. So
Yes.
any of the art that you see on our website or on our podcast currently has been provided by him. And
Yes.
so
We'll have some links
hair
to...
plug? Hair plug?
Absolutely, hair plug.
Hair plug for Nick.
Yeah.
So
Definite hair plug. Thanks again for checking us
yeah,
out.
thank you so much.
Hope to see you next time.